this National Advisory Council on Women and Girls. It's been a while since the Advisory Council came out with their publication and their solutions to solve the supposed problems that plague Scotland. But nonetheless, the government shares the Council's vision for Scotland to be recognised as a leading nation in the pursuit of equality for the genders. We recognise this ambition requires those from across the public, private and third sectors to lead by example. The government is pleased in delivering our response to this report and take a role in leading this change. Okay, recommendations. Create a What Works Institute. To develop and test robust evidence-led, inclusive and representative approaches to changing public attitudes in Scotland to girls' and women's equality and rights. What are they talking about? Who knows? Including dismantling stereotypes about what girls and women should study, work at and be. The Institute will be the place where good learning happens and where specialist gender support can be accessed. Third sector, the business tools to act to change the culture on women's equality. Also, a Fairer Scotland for Women, a gender action plan, proposes actions to ensure equality within the genders promoted within early learning, schools, colleges, universities, employability programmes, the labour market, businesses, social security, and also drive both more immediate and long-term change, including addressing gender stereotyping, sexual harassment, yada yada, with an equally safe Scotland strategy for preventing and eradicating violence against women and girls. Also makes our position very clear that the roots of violence against women and girls lie in the attitudes and inequalities that continue to permeate society, and we will only make progress if we tackle outdated stereotypes in women's equality. Is this how they justify their job positions? Seriously. You know, she's not whining and moaning about Brexit and about how the Tory party are supposedly far right and the need to crack down on the rise of fascists within Scotland. She's passing pish like this behind the scenes to justify her position. Women 50-50. Building on this, we'll seek the support of all parties signed up to the Women 50-50 campaign to develop voluntary procedures to increase the number of women candidates and all their diversity to 50%, because that is true equality. Forcing people in on the basis of their gender and or skin colour. The Young Women's Movement and the Parliament Project are funded by the government, of course they are, to run a national campaign and event in Parliament to celebrate women in politics. Oh yeah. 9-month digital campaign encouraging women to increase their engagement and consider standing for elective office. But of course, bear in mind, you have to be a feminist. They're not really after any other type of woman. You have to be a feminist that has the interests of women in mind. Women's takeover of the Parliament, creating a force for women's political participation. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Carry out a thematic gender review of the National Performance Framework. Aims of the National Performance Framework are to create a more successful country while giving opportunities to all, increasing the well-being of people, yada yada, create sustainable, oh here we go again, am I known, reduce inequalities and give importance to social progress, with values being a guidance to treat all our people with kindness, yada 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 yada. And to help achieve its purpose, the framework sets out national outcomes. These outcomes describe the kind of Scotland it aims to create, reflecting the values and aspirations of the people of Scotland, aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Imagine my fucking shock. Help to track progress in reducing inequality, and of course this inequality that we speak of has been defined by the UN. These national outcomes are that these are given the opportunity to grow up loved and respected, live in communities that are inclusive, empowered, resilient and safe. What is this effing BS, man? What are they doing to this country? Seriously. Be creative and diverse. Be creative, and that their vibrant and diverse cultures are expressed and widely enjoyed. Diverse cultures. Scotland, diverse cultures. Oh yeah. Have a globally competitive, entrepreneurial, inclusive and sustainable economy. Oh my god. Respect, protect and fulfill human rights and live free from discrimination. Unless you're a white man, then expect positive discrimination en masse. Improve access to justice for women and girls experiencing men's violence and a culture of violence against women and girls embedded in the fabric of Scottish society. That is just akin to saying systemic racism or systemic misogyny, etc, etc. Sounds good on paper or uttered aloud, but when you're pressed on when find what you mean by the fabric of society or systemic insert here, they never can. They want to criminalise serious misogynistic harassment, filling gaps in existing laws. Yeah, you mean you want to criminalise misogyny? And of course, insults on Twitter. If it's directed at a woman, that's by default misogyny according to these people. Create a world-leading process for complainers of sexual violence, including trauma-informed forensic medical examination, a review of the law on cooperation and privacy for complainers with regards to the disclosure of their medical record. The Scottish Government will not only work on identifying access to justice issues for women and girls, but also for other groups with protected characteristics, because by default, if you are brown, black, gay or whatever it may be, and you fit into one of these little boxes that the Scottish Government have created for you, then you are entitled to access to justice. The Women's Rights Centre, funded by the government's Justice Fund, and the Legal Aid Board, the Justice Fund. All of our taxpayers' money is being pished on utter nonsensical lunacy. I'm sorry, there's no other way to describe this. Found gender equality, a toolkit for the education within Scotland. Notice anything about these photos here? There's one demographic that seems to be missing from all of these key photos here. Yeah, what a shock. Looks like their unconscious bias is on display. All children and young people are supported and encouraged to reflect on their own and others' experiences of gender inequality. Oh my god. Consider how gender inequalities might be addressed within the school and the wider community, and contribute to the development, delivery and evaluation of the school's gender equality initiatives. Learners can feel increasingly confident in recognising, discussing and addressing gender discrimination. What better way to create a cohesive society than to drum it into the heads of children that feminism is required and that there is gender discrimination that is rampant within the academia. Information will be given to children and young people, parents and carers on how equality and anti-discrimination is being promoted by the school. Equality and anti-discrimination has been addressed within different areas of the curriculum. Discrimination, including sexist and homophobic behaviour from children and young people, will be addressed. The school initiates discussions with parents about issues such as peer pressure, gender and stereotypes. The school reports annually to parents, carers, children and young people on success in meeting its improvement priorities and achieving key outcomes relating to gender equality. So the toolkit suggestion for the new and improved variation of art should show a depiction of women and men in art being explored and questioned, pupils becoming familiar with work by male and female artists, with the National Museum of Women in the Arts picturing women, etc, etc. Inequality, stereotyping and peer pressure relating to gender are explored through roleplay and in the study of texts. Pupils are challenged to create complex characters that do not rely on gender stereotypes. Music. Pupils are encouraged to discuss and reflect on gender stereotypes and peer pressure relating to choice of instruments. Pupils become familiar with the work of male and female musicians and composers. Where few female composers or musicians are identified, the teacher will initiate class discussion on possible reasons for this, and of course it must be misogyny. Lyrics and video images using gender stereotypes, sexism and or homophobia within popular music will be explored. PE. The curriculum offers the same opportunities for girls and boys, and these are balanced between activities associated strongly with men or women and those without such associations. Teachers facilitate discussion and reflection around sexism and homophobia and how it can be prevented. Staff ensure that facilities such as changing rooms and transport to activities are safe and free from bullying and name calling. Staff ensure that PE kits allow both girls and boys from all cultural backgrounds to feel confident. RME. The personal, social and institutional aspects of religion relating to gender are critically and sensitively examined. Geography, people and place. Inequalities and injustice relating to gender and human rights, so I presume you mean migration. Access to facilities such as housing and transport and the use of land. Both men and women's perspectives on and contributions to cultural and social life will be explored. History, people in the past. Reasons for women's invisibility in some historic Historical accounts are explored when considering the nature of historical evidence, men and women's perspectives on and contributions to history. Historical inequalities and injustice related to gender will be investigated, such as exploring women's rights. BBC History, a quiz game about women's rights in the Victorian era. Women, 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 women. Modern studies, people and society. A contribution of Scotland's feminists and women's rights campaigners. Oh yes. The political and social change is studied. Engender, an information research and networking organisation for women in Scotland. Yes, let's teach the children all about Engender. Contemporary inequalities and injustice related to gender. Of course, what the fuck else would it be? Science, women's contribution, of course, historical women in science. Oh, imagine my shock. Stereotypes about science. Oh, wow, I was wondering, a curious look at women's adventures in science. Women again. Math examples for working on statistics are taken from data relating to gender equality. Equality in Scotland. Women and men. Equal Opportunities Commission. United Nations. Of course, they make an appearance again. The maths work avoids sexist assumptions and challenges gender stereotypes. A plumber had 17 metres of piping to install 3 radiators. Draw a diagram to show how she... Oh, see what they did there? They included she instead of he, because for some strange reason, if we put a he instead of a she, that's sexism. But the other way around, it's fine. English language texts are used which counter gender stereotypes and describe inequality, injustice, discrimination and so on and so forth, describing action against sexism and homophobia. Modern languages. Peoples develop a critical awareness of gender within their own and other languages. The influence of gender stereotypes will be explored through resources such as persona dolls, stories about others, a world of difference, Institute recommending multicultural and anti-bias books for children, an equal start promoting equal opportunities, social, cultural and institutional inequalities and pressures relating to gender are acknowledged and investigated, aka pay, employment, choices and opportunities. Equal Opportunities Commission, etc., etc. Pupils will explore their own and others' experience of gender and discrimination relating to gender. What the fuck is going on in this country? Seriously.